YouTube, new family, what is going on? Daniel here for another video. Just got back from the office. Was able to have some raw milk to finish my macros, so that was delicious. And here to make another video. The thing was, I just did 2 takes, and I realized I'm trying to control what I'm going to say, and that is not the way to get in power. I'm simply going to flow with what I believe I'm here to do is speak, give my gift of speaking, and simply just let the Holy Spirit work through me. I don't want to control what I'm going to say. I don't want to try to give a lesson here. I'm essentially just going to talk about what I feel needs to be said and then simply just flow and go from there and, you know, release anything that has to be released, and essentially release any stories. Essentially today, something small happened where I fell into the stories of the ego, and I realized how fast I can get into ego. Yesterday I had a crazy video, as you guys saw on the channel, and after that was trying to celebrate that frequency with anybody. It didn't end up happening, and essentially got out of my power. And this morning I had a call with my brother. I realized I was heavy. I was like, why am I heavy? Why do I have stories? Why am I thinking? And I realized that, yeah, I still have this thing where I'm trying to get a feeling from sharing something with someone, or, for me today, what happened, something small, very small, even dumb, truly, but this goes to show that the ego will use anything. And it seems insignificant, but realize that everything is significant when you're trying to kill the ego and when you live spiritually. Because, like I mentioned in my other video, everything is spiritual. I was having a reflection, I believe it was yesterday, on one of the biggest lies that we're told, meaning that we were told since kids that outside of the sky we see here is space. Space and galaxies and satellites and uh, planets, and I realized that that belief takes away the fundamental thing of this life, is that outside of this blue sky, above and so below, is water. And we live in a firmament. And that being said, all the things I mentioned before, all the things we told that, we're going to go to Mars and global warming and aliens and comets and meteors and satellites and planets, it's all a lie to try to play God and give us distractions, give us lies, and essentially not help us realize that none of those things exist. And that when you realize that is the truth, you then realize how spiritual life really is. Because if there's no space, there's no Mars, there's no space travel, there's no galaxies, there's no planets, there's no comets, there's no satellites, then guys, the only thing that there is Jesus, God, the Holy Spirit. Because this removes all the things of the Big Bang, the dinosaurs, the Ice Age, all these things of, evolution. And essentially, we are put into perspective that everything is spiritual. Like, there's no going through or escaping the firmament. And let's go hit the plane there. And there's no going to Mars. There's no global warming. There's no planets, basically evaporating, and ozone layer. Like, guys, they want to play Jesus. They want to play God, and they're trying to sell us all these lies to have us escape the fact that it's truly us, the human species, and Jesus and the animals. Like, how crazy is that? If you really stop to reflect on that. all the things that we've been sold in movies and, school, and guys, it's fake. NASA, that whole company is made on a lie. And I want to start the video with this because it gives you this perspective that everything is more spiritual than we believe. When I had that reflection yesterday, I was like it's really just us, nature, the animals, and Jesus, and heaven. Or, there's nothing else. There's no in between. There's no space. There's no planets. There's no Jupiter, Mars, Milky Way. Like, guys, it's all fake. It's all been CGI'd. It's all been lied to us. It's us, our soul, energy, frequency, which is a tool to get close to the kingdom. And yeah, guys, like Jesus, truly, like looking over us, waiting for us. And then the enemy, the one below. Like, when you really reflect and see that the creation of the world is in the Bible, in Genesis, and everything else, that they made out of that, or everything else that they tried to lie about, makes it even more so that we live this life spiritually, or we have a spiritual element to us that has to be tapped into, that has to be acknowledged. And I say this because something, like I said, as small as a phone case, or the enemy trying to use a phone case against me, even though it seems small and stupid, it is significant because, like I said, with all those things that I just mentioned, when you remove all those things, you realize how binary and simple life is. It's truly, are you making the decisions that get you close to your creator, or are you making decisions that get you trapped by your destroyer, Satan, enemy, And I made a decision today that made me fall into the story that the enemy was telling me with, like I said, something small like the phone case. But after this reflection, I realized that, guys, it's more serious than we believe. And I always knew it was serious. I always knew that, there was something else. There was something missing always. There's always, like, no matter how much of the world you get, I always had this like missing void in this thing. And now that I found it, I realized that I can't go back. There is no going back. Especially, like I said, all the distractions and all the lies that the world tries to sell us. It truly is, like I said, this lifestyle and nothing else. And even if I, just made a video about a phone case and how it, that story that the enemy is using about it, I fell to. I want you guys to realize that all the things it's going to use, no matter how small or insignificant or dumb it may be, guys, it's something that it's using to lure you away. And I learned my lesson, but now I realize that, like, it's more important than I believe. It's there's nothing else really out there for us. As scary as that sounds. Not scary, but as real as that is, it's not scary because you have Jesus. But I mean, there's no space. There's no like outer world that we don't know about, and planets and galaxies. Like, they try to play God. It's really everything we have on this planet, on this earth, on planet, is given to us by Jesus, God. Made in 6 days. He rests on the seventh, and it has everything we need. But this whole life is truly a test. This life is truly a test. And like I said, we have the mental, we have the physical, which 99% of the world lives by. But accessing the spiritual to see how things are being used against you or things are going for you is truly the way to live now more than ever, being in end times in the 21st century. Because, yeah, guys, like, without this path, you truly just live on feelings. You truly live on thinking you believe is coming from you, which is actually your ego, usually most of the time, unless you have Jesus who is guiding you with the Holy Spirit. You have an empty void that you try to fill with things, money, relationships, empty sex, trips, buying things, just external things. And guys, like, the sooner you realize that void's never gonna be filled unless you find your creator, the faster you grow. And like I said, when you have that realization and you choose this life, or he chooses you, which happened to me, then you have to make the decisions, because like I said, it's not something that's scary, but it's serious in a good, beautiful way, because there's nothing else that's real, even though we're being sold that there's, the global warming coming and we all have to move to Mars, and we have Elon Musk working on spaceships, and guys, it's fake. It's truly. I never thought I'd make this video, but this goes in hand with what I was reflecting on and what happened today. And, how something is insignificant, like I mentioned before, seems insignificant, but when you lose those battles and you just kind of push it to the side, then it comes another thing that you believe is insignificant, and it takes that away, and you maybe lose that battle, and then it starts to get into things that are more and more important. But realize that whatever it's using to try to trap you is what it's using. So for me today, enemy used the stories of a phone case. For you, it could be the shoelaces you put on your shoes. It could be the way you style your hair. It could be, if you're a woman, your makeup, or I don't know, the clothes you're wearing, like anything small. Like there's so many different examples, but anything small that you feel is dumb, you're like, why am I having a story about this? Just realize it's happening. It's fine. It's perfect. And then you have to overcome it by not changing it. You can learn from me because I changed it when I shouldn't have. And now I'm making this video to give myself, wisdom. Give you guys wisdom in terms of what I've, lived today. But also help you guys realize through this example, which I said seems insignificant, that everything that he's going to use, the enemy, is significant. And like I said, the reason why is because what we've been told that is out there that we don't know about, there's nothing truly out there. In the Bible, in Genesis, the firmament which we live in was made, and he put water above and water below. That's why only 1% of the ocean, or 3% or something like that, has been discovered, is because we're surrounded above us and below us by water. And of course, there's other things. We can go into a whole different video about that, but this is something that when you truly, truly, truly realize this, it changes things. Like I said, life becomes much more spiritual after that, because there's no mysterious things. There's no aliens. Aliens are just demons. If they try to sell you aliens, they're selling you demons. They're trying to sell you space. They're trying to play God. The only thing there is the creator and the destroyer. Jesus and the enemy. Love, hate. Light, darkness. Like, that's all that matters. So that's why with the choices I make and the things that seem insignificant, after making this video and reflecting, I realized that it's not as insignificant as I thought. And even the decisions I'm making now, like this week taking salsa off, it seems extreme. It seems like, why are you doing that? Like, just go enjoy yourself. But I really want to just remove the ego as much as possible. Obviously, it's still going to lure there, but I want to remove it as much as humanly possible, because that's the only way that I can live spiritually. That's the only way that I can remove the stories. The only way that I can stay in high frequency. It's the only way that I can open up souls, which is my gift. Interview souls, plant seeds, work for Jesus. The only way that I can get in power, stay in power. The only way I can guide people by being light. The only way that I can live a life that's truly in peace, it's truly spiritually free, truly in power, not needing anything but receiving what Jesus wants me to receive and not holding on to it because I need it or need a feeling from it. Like, I realized something as small as a phone case was playing me to get a feeling from changing it, and I did. So I lost that battle. And now tomorrow it's going to use something else. Who knows what it is? But the reason I'm making these videos and I'm fully honest because I want you guys to realize that no matter what it uses against you, how dumb or insignificant it seems, it's something that it's using against you. And realize that it's doing it for a reason. It knows something about you and it's testing you. Like I said, this life is all a test. So if you're not passing the tests, no matter how small they are, then tomorrow when it's a reset and we start over, and if we get the day, then he's gonna use something else or the same thing. Like, realize over and over the enemy's gonna try to come after you. The more you're chosen, the more you're gifted, the more he's gonna come after you. That's why he's coming after me so heavily with anything, significant or not. And he's gonna keep coming after me until I learn to once again be in peace with myself, kill the feelings that I'm giving to anything, and get in power. And then be able to interview, speak to souls, plant seeds. And then once again, he's going to come back with something else and something else and something else over and over and over until, Jesus decides it's my day. But realize that, like, when you have a big path, a big mission, that he's going to keep bothering you. It's like you trying to eat something and there's always a fly or a bee. It's happening to me today, so I'm giving the example. You're trying to eat outside, there's always a fly or a bee that's trying to try and come and eat your food. When Jesus is trying to give you spiritual food, trying to give you his energy, you're going to have that insect, the bee, the fly, being that, the demon, the stories, trying to get you away from that. So realize that every day this happens and it's perfect. The only way out is staying in high frequency. And that's the hardest path. Like I said, I make these videos because right now I'm in that path where I'm relearning things, things that I learned a long time ago, but lost because of losing myself in a relationship. But like I said, it's going back to ground zero, relearning the things, removing the things, and coming back and growing, And today I learned the hard way, and it's perfect. So it's not going to happen again. But yeah, guys, like, it's also serious, It's also serious to know that this part of your life it's more important than you believe. People believe God is just this person in the sky and a guy with a beard and like they believe more the lies of space and travel and global warming, and not the person that came here, died for your sins, and in 3 days rose again and is now waiting for you in a kingdom that is simply peace and love and joy and no stories and love and pure souls and like energy and like beauty. And instead the world chooses to believe things that were sold because they find ways to convince the eyes, but the soul still doesn't feel at home, at rest. Like I said, we can be given everything in this world, but until your soul is at peace and knows your creator, then it does not matter what you're sold. So that's why, like I said, today was a big lesson. I learned that, I have to make the right choices. I have to get in power, stay in power, because I have a big gift. I have something, a purpose. That's why I keep getting bothered with these things, small, insignificant as it may seem. It's going to keep happening. It's going to be bigger things and bigger things. And, I have to keep passing the test because it knows, if your enemy knows, the enemy knows that you have something big, it's going to keep bothering you. Like I said, it's going to be like a bee just bothering you over and over. You're trying to eat food outside, like just over and over. It's going to invite more and it's going to invite more. And you have to keep moving, like bee comes, you can move somewhere else. You have to just keep moving, being alert, making the right choices and staying away from those demons. Because if you're stationary and you start to make the choices for those stories, then you gotta get out of power, or you put a feeling towards something external, then you got our power. And yeah, guys, it's truly the only way to grow is when you realize what the enemy is trying to use against you to get you out of your power, and what you can use in your benefit to get in power and stay close to the Creator. The rest is a bonus. The rest is mental and physical, and those things that you believed were you are going to start to make much more sense. Much more significance in terms of the things happening in your life, why they're happening, and you start to get a connection with something much bigger than yourself. And the only thing you can have a connection truly with, and that's going to give you understanding about yourself, love for the world, forgiveness for things that happened, joy like a child could get another day, peace, acceptance, abundance within, power, meaning you don't need things of this world. You can go without them, but you will enjoy them just as much as the person that needs them doesn't enjoy them. He actually just needs them. But as much as the person that just likes those things, but yeah, I'm glad that this happened today. And like I said, it's something dumb, you could say. It's a phone case, because like I said in the beginning, the lies that are told to us, once you unravel them and realize they're lies, and you realize that we're simply protected and put in a place where everything is made by the Creator, and there's nothing else that we don't know about, there's nothing else we need to discover, then yeah, guys, it puts things much more in perspective, and you realize that life isn't as difficult as it's made out to be. There's not more things to discover. There's not more information you need. There's only wisdom. There's the Bible. There's the truth. There's the things that have happened 1,000 years ago and are going to happen again. They're just patterns, and all the patterns are in the Bible. It's all just a cycle. And right now we're in end times, so it's important to know that now is when those that are chosen have to put in more of the work, get more of the pressure, get more of the resistance from the enemy. And when you surpass that is when your light starts to shine more. Because walking through Canada today and seeing just so many different things of like the agenda, the LGBTQ agenda that they're pushing, and all this unity and everyone's equal and equality, and like same gender, like, or no gender, like, guys, it's the enemy. It's truly the enemy resting and making a nest in different countries. And some people notice, some people don't. I fully notice, and it gives me this feeling of like I literally walked by and prayed as I was doing, like I prayed for the continent. I prayed for the Western continent, Canada, US, even you can say even Mexico, like to remove those ideologies of the devil, of the enemy, and go back to how things were. But like I said, it's end times, so things have to shed off. Things will shed off, and Jesus will come back and make himself known again. But until then, the chosen ones, you could say in a way, have to suffer, have to keep putting one foot forward in front of the other, suffering and making the right choices. And one day, our kingdom will be there waiting for us. We don't have to build a kingdom in this world, because like it says in the Bible, don't build a kingdom where there's gonna be robbers and people are trying to steal things, but build a kingdom where it's eternal, where it's everlasting, where it's forever, and it's not something temporary here, which doesn't mean you shouldn't build something to glorify Jesus, the person that saved you, but it means don't depend on the things of this world. Like, you build something perfect to glorify him, but you don't have to depend on it or need it. You have something else waiting for you, much bigger, when you make the right decisions and stay away from the enemy. So like I said, this insignificant things, they're still things. They still create stories, and they still try to distract you. So learn from me, learn that you have to surpass them, and As I'm making this video, I feel much better because, guys, I have the ability to speak. We all have the ability to speak. If you guys aren't speaking, it's you trapping yourself in more stories and more thinking and more control. And that's what the enemy wants. He wants you in control and ego and thinking and feelings and chasing and getting out of power and giving a feeling to things externally and believing the agenda and the lies that are being told to you, just distractions. And he wants you away from the only signal that you need, the only connection that you need. And the rest is a bonus. Jesus will give you everything you need when you need it, not when you want it or when you want the world to see you with it. It's when everything is supposed to happen, and it's having full faith. And like I said, when you're chosen, your mission is bigger than you even can imagine. Realize that enemy's going to come for you more with anything. He's going to keep coming after you and coming after you. And like I said, maybe something insignificant like a phone case, or something massive like a relationship you have, or your family, or your purpose, or your body, health. Like, it's going to come after you with many different things. But realize, Jesus will only test you with the things that he knows you're ready for, or that you're not prepared for and you don't take seriously. But take everything, all the tests and the battle seriously, because they have a purpose for them happening. And once you surpass them, you level up and you get closer to your lesson, your wisdom for that day, and your purpose overall. So yeah, guys, crazy, especially reflection I had about this with the earth and how it truly is, and how we've been lied to for so long because the world wants to play God, and realize that we live in the world made and nurtured by the enemy. Like I said, the agenda and the things they push is going to keep getting more and more extreme, more foul, with less sense, less logic. People are going to question less and less. And then, mark of the beast and all these things that are already foretold in the Bible are going to happen. And like I said, it's only if you have knowledge of the spiritual and realize that everything else is fake that you can surpass and meet your creator. But if you get the mark of the beast and you fall into the propaganda and the agenda and the things they're going to try to push on us, then guys, unfortunately, you fall with a good majority of others that won't see the kingdom, because they weren't believers. They believe in the world more than who created the world, or who gives them life every day, or who lets them breathe, or who gives them their gifts, or who gave them their blessings, who gave them life, who gave them oxygen, who gave them food, who gave them water, who gave them love, who gave them everything in this world. The person that's giving everything to you, you believe in less than propaganda and lies being told to you by this world, because you have fear disguised as control, you have ego, and you believe you don't need Jesus. But guys, trust me, you needed Jesus. No matter what you have in this world, when it closes your eyes and it disappears, you will know how much you needed Jesus. You'll know how much you needed God. You can try and be the man or the woman or the boss lady or the big man now, but trust me, when the ego fades and your eyes close and your sixth senses are still there, you will wish that you paid more attention or tried to ask more questions about what's happening in the world, as opposed to just believing anything that's thrown in your face because a celebrity says it, because money behind it, you believe money, or money has, significance. But guys, the truth is the truth. You can feel the truth, you can live the truth, and realize that it's either light or darkness, peace or hate. Like, it's one or the other. There's no extraterrestrial, they're selling you extraterrestrial. It's demons.